Hey fellas, before I begin the video, I would just like to quickly state that I'm not advocating for or encouraging the doxing, targeting, harassment, bullying of any individuals that may be mentioned or featured in this particular video. Remember, this is an opinion piece, my particular commentary on the subject matter, however controversial as it may be. So, with that all said, let's go ahead and start the show. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your Panda back in action. Obviously, I'll say, but something else. Furnal Equinox, get down with your bad selves. So amidst all the conventions that I've ever been to across the United States, I have never been outside of the country for a furry convention, let alone Furnal Equinox, although I have frequented Furnal Equinox in virtual reality format here in VRChat. But that doesn't quite count, right? You actually have to go to Toronto, Canada. And if you wanted to go, you kind of missed the boat on that one because it was this past weekend, although various things would just kind of hit my Twitter feed all at once. And the one thing that kind of stuck out were videos or posts about a guy that was on the dance floor. Lighting that shit up, you know? He was busting a move, he was like, you know, garnering some attention from fellow congoers. The problems almost begin immediately, because as soon as he steps onto the scene, dude's wearing nothing but a bathrobe, okay? Like he's some fucking dementia patient that walked in out of the rehab clinic, and, you know, literally nothing else underneath the robe. But, okay, you know, maybe he jacked that shit from his hotel room, I don't know. Either way, it didn't really set a good look, okay? And needless to say, as he's like going on and on and on, like, you know, just kind of like doing some twirls, doing some spins, breaking down, busting ass, the fucking bathrobe falls off, okay? And the dude keeps dancing. My first reaction was just like, haha, drugs. But nah, the guy came out very, like, publicly and stated that he wasn't high on drugs. He was high on life. He was just there to dance because, you know, school sucks. He decided that he was going to make the most of that fucking Furnal Equinox and get on the dance floor and dance. Now, obviously, the controversies kind of play out because as he's naked, you know, butt-ass naked, various con attendees, namely volunteers and staff, start to walk over and try to corral him away because they figure, man, this guy's fucking off his rocker, we gotta get him out of here. And the dude starts fucking bucking and grinding on them mid-dance, okay? Definitely not something that was like an accidental, like, bump into somebody or anything like that. No, this was a conscious decision where he's just like fucking grinding on them. Because that's a natural reaction, right? You grind on the people that are trying to corral you away from the rest of the con attendees so that you don't disturb their experience. And it did cause a little bit of a disturbance because multiple people like sort of caught wind of this, and that's how he got all these video clips, right? People busting out their phones and kind of recording all of this, those that noticed and had occasion to look back at this dude. Now, apparently, he was very forthcoming about who he was. His name's Pup Bello. Kind of like a portobello mushroom, but I think some of the con attendees were seeing a little bit more of his mushroom, if you know what I mean, on the dance floor. And, like, after the fact, he was reported to have been, like, sort of, like, just cordoned off by all these con staff and volunteers away from the dance floor after the fact. After the event was all over, presumably it was, like, he got his dance, he got his, like, fucking kicks in, and he got, like, you know, just fucking coddled off. And after the fact, there was just like a multitude of differing reactions on social media, okay? Some people were going so far as to hail this man a hero, just being like, man, I do not know. This fucking magnificent stallion. I don't know who this man is, but he is my hero. I love you, sir. And, you know, very quickly, as a visceral reaction to the whole thing, people were acting like this guy, he had the cojones.
You got big cojones, amigo.
To just step on the dance floor, be unabashed about his body, and, like, you know, put on a little bit of a show for everybody that was there to see it and bear witness. And various other people on social media that happened to watch the videos, and right before he disappeared from the public eye. Not for very long, though, because multiple people were sort of asking questions. They were, like, just shocked and aghast, amazed that this man would have the audacity to step out onto the dance floor and make a public nuisance of himself, engaging in public indecency, and, like, showing himself unabashed to the camera, and anybody else that might have been in the room at the time. Now, various people were making the argument, okay, so this is a convention that caters to people of all ages, okay? Could be kids, could be adults, could be families for all you know. And this was definitely at night because, you know, typically for any convention out there worth its salt, there's going to be a little bit of a rave scene, okay? That's where, you know, most people's expectations of kids being on the dance floor is going to be pretty small, but there is the possibility, right? I mean, just because, like, you know, somebody's bedtime might be usually like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock doesn't mean that kids aren't going to stay up late. So it's entirely possible that some kids saw a little bit too much, and this would turn the situation into something of a no-no, all right? It's kind of interesting to me how many people came out to defend this guy and congratulate him and hail him as a hero. Granted, I'll fully admit, okay, the dude is chiseled, okay? If you look at his body, he's got an immaculate body, sculptured like a fucking David, like, you know, Michelangelo sculpture, okay? There's no two ways about that, but at the same time, you gotta wonder, if this dude was like a fat, flabby tub of lard or something like that, and, like, people would have probably ran away retching and, like, you know, making a run for the bathroom to, like, fucking upchuck anything they had in their stomach at the time. So there's a little bit of a double standard because, you know, obviously a lot of people like to make the claim, hey, the fandom's all about body positivity. But you know for damn sure, if this guy was a fat ass, he would not have been hailed as a hero or congratulated or anything like that. People would have been making fun of his ass and just basically, like, you know, smoking him off the internet. They wouldn't have hailed him as a hero, and the negative reactions would have come so much faster. So obviously there were going to be people out there that are going to waggle their finger and say, this just shows a clear sign of double standards here in the furry fandom. People are so shallow and materialistic and yeah, I hate to say it, but, you know, when people see something attractive, they're obviously going to react more favorably to it. However, the favorability in this situation didn't last for long, okay? Like, if you're waiting for, like, the punchline to all this, various people came out to condemn this man because, like, it was revealed that he wasn't high on anything, like I said before. He even came out and said, yeah, I wasn't under the influence of anything. I just felt like getting up and dance, and I just kept going after the fucking bathrobe fell away. So it was a conscious decision not only to cast away the bathrobe, but also to buck and grind on anybody that was trying to corral him away from the rest of the con attendees. Jokes aside, one thing that's more serious than the situation would sort of elicit as, like, a visceral reaction from most of the attendees, as well as those various spectators online, is the fact that Pup Bello did technically sexually assault somebody. You know, when he was bucking and grinding against those, you know, volunteers and con staff that were trying to corral him away from the, like, you know, dance floor area. That's not cool, okay? You know, he's fully naked. There's nothing to, like, separate him from the other person except for the other person's clothes. They're wearing what looks like, what was it? an Anthro New England sort of like, jersey. One of those hockey jerseys, like the jackets that, like hockey players wear. Looked like he was wearing something like that because it was green. He was kind of a big dude, but fucking like he's trying to like get this guy to go away. It's just sort of like, excuse me, sir, but you're going to have to stop. Can you come with me, please? And, Pup Bello's reaction is just to buck and grind against him, okay? Yeah, like plenty of people have sort of raised that sort of like point that is sexual harassment, that is sexual assault. Like, right there. It's caught on video, so there's no ambiguity about all that. That is sexual assault, and thank God that the person trying to ask him to leave wasn't a girl or a lady or anything like that. But definitely not something that he probably wanted, to have this naked dude bucking and grinding against him. And the fact that people were just sort of tone deaf to all of that, like didn't really see the situation for being as serious as it was, is just kind of appalling, What if the guy had like more dastardly intents in mind? I'm pretty sure that he didn't appreciate that, and like, Lord help us if that was like a hotel staff member. Like, hypothetically speaking, it was not at all. It was a volunteer like con staff, but still, like, imagine if con staff, somebody in like one of those business suits came over and just asked him to like leave the area, and he just starts bucking and grinding against them. It would be funny for some, but that would be absolutely appalling for most, okay? I would imagine, like, the whole con would get shut down after that, but anyway. This is kind of bad publicity for Furnal Equinox as a whole. So the fact that it happened, for as much hype and, like, hope and mystery as, like, was surrounding Pup Bello, not the greatest sort of thing to have happened on the dance floor. And I have to say, my heart absolutely goes out for the guy in the Wolves jersey, okay? Like, that green jersey he's wearing looking like a hockey gear. Because several times he tries to get the individual's attention, and he's just kind of like referencing him. And the guy fucking disregards him, runs out into the dance floor to fraternize with various people there. And later on, after the bathrobe fell off, his slippers fell off long before the bathrobe did, but when the bathrobe finally came off, he was fucking grinding on this guy. And all I could imagine is like the guy in the jersey is just like, excuse me, sir, please stop. Please remove yourself from the premises. Okay, you are not welcome here anymore. But goddamn, the self-control on that like jersey dude. I feel bad for the guy, honestly, like having to put up with that crap, but at the same time, it was truly something to behold for everybody else. In saying all of that, you gotta wonder, what possessed this man to just make this conscious decision? Because people asked him straight up, it's like, yo, bro, if you weren't on the influence of anything, why the fuck did you do all of that? And the guy actually complained that school sucks, that he felt like blowing off some steam, that he wasn't enjoying the con to its fullest because of school, and now that he was actually there, he didn't have time to change, he didn't have time to do this, that, or the other, so he just got on the fucking dance floor and danced. Now, for those of you that hail this man as a hero, you gotta wonder, is this kink exhibitionism? It's gotta be, right? If you're that self-confident with yourself to just cast off all your clothes, reveal your chiseled-ass form for the benefit of those around you, you gotta be getting something out of this. And people were just making the claim. It's like, yo, this guy was probably getting off to that, okay? Exhibitionists love that sort of shit, right? I don't have any confirmation one way or the other, but remember how I referenced his name as being Pup Bello? Yes, it's exactly as you think it is, okay? Puppy Bello, alright? That's his Telegram handle. Do not harass this guy or I will come find you and smack you off the head. Anyway, all that to be said, like, Pup Bello, he was forthcoming with everything that people were asking, okay? And took all the hatred, negativity, and scorn that he received in stride. Just, being very aloof and sort of like, open-minded in his responses to various people. Didn't admit to anything, felt fully like it comes off as like he's in the right. He was justified to do all of this. So he's not taking responsibility for it. And that's just pissing various people off. And I would say, if this is a one-time thing, fine, whatever. Like, various people were sort of giving him a slap on the wrist and saying, oh, it's okay, boys will be boys, fine, whatever. But But as like time went on over the course of like a couple of days, you know, people sort of like allowed their better judgment to settle in, and various people were saying, you know, I know for a fact that this was a girl, you know, doing this sort of shit, then she would have been condemned publicly. This is such a misogynistic fandom. I don't know how much truth there is to that, unless it happens, which I am not encouraging any of you ladies out there to do this sort of thing. I think you have more dignity than that. But you gotta wonder, right? Like, what would have been the reaction if it was a beautiful woman of, like, equivalent attractiveness, right? Alright, so scrolling through his Twitter profile and all of his Twitter feed, seems like he's very proud of his, like, chiseled body, alright? You know, as for what are some of his interests in art? Alright, he's got a cute enough persona. Okay, I can sort of overlook that. Alright, let's see what some of his media and Twitter posts. Oh dear God, no! Oh no! 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 Please, for the love of God, tell me he's not a Nazi sympathizer or some shit like that. Anyway, Pup Bello, some things I noticed about his profile. He really seems to like the humiliation aspect, which I guess for exhibitionism might be a component for certain people. Again, I'm extrapolating, so do not take what I say here, but if you look at his profile and Twitter, you know, his feed on Twitter, everything that he's posted up to this point, he is proud of his puppy play antics. I've seen diapers, I've seen various other things. He is apparently a live streamer of some sort, and he does like little things on the side, like talking about the puppy life, as it were. And, you know, it's just sort of like opened a wound, because already people were very divisive about the whole puphood aspect of things. Some people hate it, some people love it, some people are indifferent. Now you have somebody that got up on a dance floor up in Toronto, Canada, decided to shed off all of his clothes, get on the dance floor and get down and dirty with himself, literally, and show himself unabashed. It just opened a new wound in this whole fucking mass debate with various other people on fucking Twitter, so it didn't help the situation in the slightest. Although, something that I have a little bit of a problem with, he posted a picture that involved a Nazi, okay? He quickly deleted that post. It was a post from a while back, because anytime that you become a public figure and people know who you are and what you're all about, they're going to psychoanalyze everything on your Twitter feed. It is guaranteed to happen. If Pup Bello wanted to do himself a favor, he probably would have nuked his Twitter right after he got out of that whole situation. Because, you know, reportedly, he didn't face any backlash, he didn't face any repercussions after the fact, as far as the con staff and, you know, volunteer force that corralled him away. So a lot of people were kind of pissed off and angry about that, because it's just like, bro, you fucking like, you know, it's kind of like being a public flasher, except you're just leaving yourself flashed for all to see. So people were just kind of like saying, yo, we're going to try to get a police report on your ass. I think that's taking it a little bit too far, because if the fucking hotel nor the volunteer staff or the staff members themselves at the convention actually took action, then that's more of their responsibility, right? That's not really your responsibility, but at the same time, you gotta wonder, were there people involved that, you know, for whatever reason, might have had kids on the dance floor? It's at that point that I would be, you know, the least bit curious as to whether or not repercussions should follow. But that's not really my decision to make. It was highly immoral, something that was very fucking, like, you know, how'd you say, uncalled for, inappropriate to the max, something that you just don't do. I haven't seen furore like this since I went to the New Year's Furry Bowl years before. Now, if you're curious, the New Year's Furry Bowl is an event that takes place in, you know, out in Delaware, pretty close on December 31st, you know, New Year's Eve. And years ago, when I was there, right, I didn't bear witness to this, like, specifically, I didn't see it, but somebody in a very similar vein kind of wore, like, you know, bathrobe, and he just kind of, you know, when the ball dropped and everything like that, he just kind of let his ding-a-ling slip out, and everybody was pissed off. You know, it's like that meme from Fallout 4. Everybody disliked that, alright? So, yeah, certainly in poor taste and very fucking reckless. You gotta wonder, like, was this Was he just caught up in the moment? Was the thrombotic beat of the fucking music getting to his head and he just couldn't, contain himself? Maybe the bathrobe couldn't contain him, so he just shut it off, Maybe he was hot. I don't know. But he certainly doesn't feel any remorse for his actions or anything like that. So it's, one of those things that just kind of, well, that happened. Now, various other people, this is not good publicity, okay? I'm sure various, people out there would just be, rolling their eyes, just shrugging off their shoulders and being like, who gives a shit? Well, plenty of people do. And they looked at this, and they pointed at it, and they said, this right here, this is why I don't go to furry conventions, okay? I had no interest in going to furry conventions before, and I especially don't have interest in going to furry conventions, which, if you didn't have interest in going to a furry convention before, then why are you making a big deal of it now? I'm not trying to downplay all of this. I certainly understand the outrage and, the various voices out there that can't help but share their 2 cents on the matter, but it already happened, okay? The con staff and hotel staff had the opportunity to do something at the time. They didn't for whatever reason. I guess they were just thankful they didn't cause more of a disturbance than it already did and shuttled him away. And he reportedly said that, con breakfast the next morning was absolutely glorious and that he was treated well by the con staff and, all the volunteers that were, sort of making sure that he didn't get any more trouble than he already did. And he just allowed himself to go. Now, he has consciously pruned his Twitter. So, But like I said before, is he a supporter of fascism? I doubt it. I think it's more of the theme of humiliation and things like that. But at the same time, god damn, why does he want this picture? He wants it drawn in the same style and theme as a Waffen SS officer, leading around a puppy or something like that. It's just okay. Hey. There are people out there that are not fascists or Nazis. They just like the whole Hugo Boss look of the fucking fascist uniform, and they want they get off to that, okay, sexually. So fine, whatever. But at the same time, I don't really get fascist vibes. But maybe he is a fascist sympathizer. It's a question, okay. But honestly, hot damn, dude, this guy is just unabashed to the max. Update. Over the course of working on this video, Puppbello appears to have completely deleted his social media. His Twitter profile is gone, all of his media posts are gone, all of his Twitter posts are gone, everything has been wiped off of the face of Twitter. It would appear as though enough of the hate mob was riled up to the point that they would actually try to take action to him, and just the incessant poking and prodding by various passerby finally got to Puppbello, and Puppbello couldn't take it anymore. He decided to completely duck his head, keep his mouth shut, and dodge the whole situation. The furor expressed at him on the daily was just a little bit too much to bear. Was this deserved? Really, it's up to you. I would just like to say that once the Twitter hate mob is riled up enough to go after somebody, they will be incessant in their attempts to take them down. Now, some people are actually trying to go so far as to compare Rainforest to Furnal Equinox 2023, all because some dude decided to become a public streaker on the dance floor. I think that's going a little bit too far. There is no comparison between the two because Rainforest, as you all know, was an absolute shit show. But you know what they say. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Well, one particular opinion kind of stuck out, mostly because they dropped a fucking mountain-sized text wall for us to just, encapsulate his opinions for our enjoyment. So, Firestormsix, if you're watching this right now, here's looking at you, kid. Well, here's my 2 cents on the ridiculous NudistCon incident at a Toronto FurCon a week ago. You can take it as it is, suggestions or not, or take it as whatever you want. My views on it is how it is. Grab your popcorn. I know some will cry foul against the suggestion. Okay, grab some popcorn, boys and girls, lots of butter. And here is my 2 cents on the incident that has exploded on Twitter and other forms of anti-social media over the nudist incident that happened at a FurCon in Canada, which I do not support over their unfair treatment of myself, including blackmail attempts by the flavorous closed group staff that run it, but that is another story for another time. Right now is my thoughts and 2 cents on how the drug-induced public nudity incident at the dance there was handled. So the guy, apparently under the influence of drugs, not really the case, decided to go to the Furnal Equinox dance wearing only the hotel bathrobe from his room, then began dancing to strip it off mid-dance and grind up against others while nude. As we all know, 95% of those, even in a furry dance, will have their cell phones and began recording things that stand out like this incident. First mistake is the so-called security decided to walk around with the guy and shine a flashlight around or on him. Basically, that gave him what he likely was trying to achieve, attention. But also, it allowed the other con attendees in the dance to see the incident more a brighter light because of the con staff focused attention on him. Point is, the staff gave him his moment of fame, attention by doing that, and at the same time allowing others to film the nudist more to post to social media. As we all know, there is nothing more attention-seeking and drama-inducing than some drug-tard in the nude flashing at a con. Memories of the rainforest diaper incident that destroyed that con. If that hotel decided to ban Furnal Equinox from ever coming back there, it would not surprise me, or blame them to ban them if they did so. Fact is, most small furcon security are nothing more than civilian volunteers. They can not do anything to stop it. They cannot touch the subject to stop it, as they are not certified or registered security personnel from a registered legal security company. They can't do a damn thing. They can only act in a case where they are assaulted or attacked themselves. Then they can use due diligence to hinder the assailant or render the assailant from harming them or others. Under Canadian law. Here's how I feel it should have been handled to avoid as much negative publicity as possible. As soon as the attendee decided to go nude, the music of the dance should have stopped immediately. Sometimes that can even change the intention of a drug-induced person to stop what they plan to do. Also, the lights should have been dimmed severely, so to not show the obscene person as much as possible. The con staff should instruct everybody to leave the room due to an incident without explaining exactly why. Then, if the one that who is causing the scene, in this case, being nude in a public environment, should have been approached by a mature con staff with even an acquired hotel blanket or bathrobe, and asked politely to cover themselves for their protection. And others view in this case, and then at the same time call the authorities and hotel staff security to help defuse the situation of the unruly person peruse the unacceptable behavior. There was no need to highlight this person with a flashlight for others to record, because we all know how social media will throw fuel on these things. The less publicity that is given to a person who does these kinds of things, the better. I've seen the videos of it, and it was shameful to watch, not only because what the guy did, but because of how poorly it was handled. I am basing this from experience of leading teams of groups and organizations outside the furry world that also has these things happen. Unfortunately, many furcon staff do not know how to handle situations properly every time. So, yeah, Wolfie definitely brings up a good point. They kind of publicized the situation, and they didn't really do much to de-escalate it. I gotta say, though, like, watching the video again, having the final countdown play while, like, the fucking bathrobe is slowly slipping away from Pup Bello is fucking hilarious. So in light of all that, that was a very interesting opinion by Firestormsix, minus all the fucking grammatical and spelling errors throughout that entire document. But again, like, I get it. Con staff could have probably de-escalated the situation much better than it had, but at the same time, you're going to react differently in light of a situation than speculate about it after the fact. Granted, Firestormsix sounds like he's been through this kind of thing. This ain't his first rodeo, as it were. So maybe he's not just talking out of his ass like some of these other armchair intellectuals. He actually knows what he's talking about. And he made some very good points throughout that entire post. Granted, when you're like right there smack dab staring down the person that's causing this mass disturbance, are you going to act in like the best interest of the convention and things like that? You're going to do what you think is right in the moment, and what you can do. What you can't do is really touch the, I wouldn't say aggressor, because Pup Bello wasn't exactly being the aggressor in the situation. He was just being an ass, ignoring con staff and stuff like that, telling him to stop and get off the dance floor. So at the same time, like, I don't really see like what they could have done meaningfully besides, like Firestormsix said, shut off the music. Hey, the event will not continue while you are here doing the things that you're doing. So put a fucking towel on, put a shirt on, put some pants on, or get the fuck off the dance floor and answer for your transgressions. Now, obviously, I'm making this out to be a lot more funny than it actually is, but, you know, isn't that just the least bit bizarre? You know, man goes streaking at a fucking furry convention. My initial reaction is drugs, and it's not drugs, no alcohol, nothing like that involved. What I'm about to talk about is a little bit more serious, alright? So, you know, get your jollies off, get your gigglies away, and if you're pissed off about the fact that this had to happen, you know, simmer down. I'm getting a little bit sketchy on the details because I actually tried to research this story, and various people that were eyewitnesses to the event gave their testimonials. We'll read a few if we can, but one thing that I noticed, right? So, there was a recurrent story of a guy that was getting beaten up inside of an elevator, and as he's getting physically attacked by somebody, he decides to scream "gun" to try to garner attention to the elevator to get people to, like, come help him. This was in the South Tower, if I recall, so the South Elevator. North Elevator had multitude of problems, so not likely that was taking place there. But as he's getting beaten up, he yells "gun," and as you know, mass shootings have kind of ticked up in recent years, so yelling "gun" is going to elicit kind of a reaction from those around you. I'm not faulting the victim who is getting actively beaten up for saying "gun," because, you know, he's like, you know, presumably in a life or death situation. You let somebody beat you up like long enough. I don't know if this guy was like the size of Mike Tyson versus, like, you know, somebody like Stewie from fucking Family Guy. But if that's the case, then you could get seriously fucked up, like, in just a couple of minutes there, like getting, like, consciously beaten up on. So yelling "gun," okay, not a bad plan, actually. The fact that they thought to, like, try to attract as much attention to themselves as humanly possible, good. Bad. Various bystanders that heard "gun" thought there was a mass shooting, like, about to take place or taking place at the time. And they ran off running, you know, like, trying to dodge the situation, trying to, like, you know. So maybe that wasn't the best thing to say, okay? I'm not entirely sure what I would say if I'm getting beaten up, other than trying to fight back and, like, defend myself to the fullest, but, like, yelling "gun" in a crowded place full of, like, people that aren't really, you know, trained or, like, you know, practiced in gun drills or anything like that, ducking for cover or anything like that, that's going to cause a little bit of a panic. Thankfully, I don't think it was that crowded that would happen, but enough people were in the area that heard, like, you know, "gun" shouted. I think the problem was resolved and that, like, most of the people involved were okay. I really hope that the victim that was getting beaten up on is okay. Like, he didn't get sent to jail or anything like that, but goddamn, like, what a fucking situation to be in. You're actively getting beaten up, and the thing you, like, comes to mind is "gun!" And, like, you know, that's not going to draw people to your... well, you know, if it's police and maybe, like, you know, people that, like, conceal carry, but Canada's not really all for that gun culture life, so your best bet are the Mounties or the police. Anyway, that's pretty much, like, the highlights of what happened. It's just that I find it unfortunate that somebody dancing naked on the dance floor drew all this attention away from the fact that some serious shit was happening behind the scenes. This was early Sunday morning, like, you know, so really late Saturday night going into Sunday morning is when it happened. But the fact that, like, fucking Pup Bello getting on the dance floor, grinding against people and doing stuff like that, like, drew attention away from everything else that was happening. Like, I'm not even getting the full story here, I don't think. I think, like, plenty of other shit might have happened at this convention. You know, and, like, conventions in more recent years, I still need to make a video about, like, MFF, like, you know, December 2022, because more conventions in more recent years have more con attendees. More con attendees just increase the chances of, like, chaos erupting from the various bad actions of the con attendees. Okay, it's bound to happen. You're going to have an influx of people. Not all of them are going to be good actors, and there could be, like, a perfect storm of chaos just waiting to happen. So details were kind of scant, but the convention did offer something of an update. This is quite literally posted on the Furnal Equinox feed or their website, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it as it's stated. March 19th, 2023, Early Morning Disturbance by Nico. March 19th, 2023. Announcement. Update. What we know so far. Early this morning, there was an incident near the South Tower elevators that created a disturbance which spread throughout the convention level at approximately 2 a.m. The events occurred as follows. Attendees moved down the escalators away from the South Tower. They moved across the lobby and then back upstairs towards the Sky Bridge to the convention center. Hotel security called Toronto Police Services (TPS) immediately following the incident. The Nightingales responded shortly after hearing the attendees. Together with the Toronto Police Service, they secured the area. They then performed a sweep of the area. A lockdown was initiated, and the gaming lounge was evacuated. An all-clear was called within 2 hours after no immediate threats were located. The investigation is still ongoing. At this time, we do not have any more details, but will provide updates as we investigate further. Please allow us to continue to gather information and avoid spreading rumors. We have been assured that the convention area is safe and Furnal Equinox attendees may enjoy the final day of the event as planned. If you have any concerns now or in the future, please feel free to contact their Nightingales in person or via email at security@furnalequinox.com. Your health and safety is our top priority. We would also like to thank the Westin Hotel security team and Toronto Police Service for their quick response and assistance on this matter. And a thank you to all attendees for your cooperation and patience. So this is a testimonial by Aurora Dream Hack on Twitter. And Aurora, if you ever happen to see this video, I do hope that you forgive me for bringing this to the attention of a wider audience. I just felt it was compelling enough that I would read this aloud. Anyway, statement. Note, this is my personal statement in regards to the events that unfolded. It is not representative of any organization or convention. This is my statement of my experiences, therefore it is only representing myself. I wanted to discuss an incident that occurred early Sunday morning at Furnal Equinox. I feel obligated to publicly post what happened and how I am doing for multiple reasons I will get into. I am safe and physically unharmed, just really disturbed and very shaken up. I honestly have been struggling to comprehend what happened. It does not feel real, even as I write this. The following is my first-hand account. I am refraining from stating any assumptions in my story to avoid any false information. Fortunately, to my knowledge, this was a false alarm. My recount of the incident that unfolded. I was out taking fursuit pictures of a friend since there was a fresh layer of snow that blanketed Toronto. Upon re-entering the hotel lobby early 2:40 to 2:45 a.m. Sunday morning, I reconvened with friends. 5 minutes later, we all heard an individual scream multiple times from the South Towers. Their scream sounded like someone who was both in fear and in pain. It was indescribable. It haunts me. Everyone in the lobby became silent. Seconds later, someone in the lobby yelled "gun" multiple times. This sent the lobby scrambling to evacuate the immediate surroundings. As I sprinted and I saw people knock over furniture, scramble over for cover in the North Tower, or flee down or up the stairs. Later, when I ran outside, I saw a few people sprinting through the Sky Bridge. I ran down the north side tower and followed a small group who was also running outside the building. We exited onto the street level, the first right exit when you head down the North Tower. We then searched for cover in a parking lot next to Scotiabank, a block away on the same street. Toronto at the time was well below freezing. Fortunately, I was dressed since I was just returning from a photo session. I proceeded to stay in place, distanced from the hotel along with 3 other individuals in the parking garage. We then hid there for 20 to 30 minutes. While outside, we watched a few police cars enter the hotel main entrance. Eventually, we saw a video that was posted of the lobby floor covered with police. We then concluded that it was safe enough to return to the hotel. We had a radio with our small group, as one of the individuals we were with was a staff member. We heard no radio chatter as we were too far out of range of anything. Unfortunately, as well, during the time in the parking garage, I had not seen any official information yet released. I do not know who screamed, why they screamed, I do not know who in the crowd yelled "gun," or why they had seen prompt to yell "gun." I will make no assumptions on any of those questions to help mitigate the spread of false information. To note, I am sharing my story now, after I have already shared my story with the proper staff within the Furnal Equinox security team to help aid in their investigation. I did witness several people providing the Toronto police information regarding the incident, as well as after returning to the hotel. Why I am sharing my story. My goal of writing the above was to dissuade any false information that had been propagating throughout the convention Sunday. I heard 4 different iterations of what occurred. Rumors such as an active shooter had fired multiple shots between floors 12 to 15, gunmen killing someone in the elevator, someone playing a prank, and someone overreacting. Reasons for the spread of false information are not specific to the fandom, though there is a point in me mentioning this. I was in a parking garage with 3 other individuals who were monitoring media channels to review when it was safe for us to return to the hotel. I was terrified in that parking garage. I was separated from all of my friends, their status unknown to me for a decent bit of time. No official word or confirmation of what was actually occurring. Meanwhile, we saw 3 of those 4 fake rumors propagating. I did not know whether or not if I returned to the hotel if I could have been shot and killed. I did not know at that point whether or not the threat was legitimate since we had heard nothing official. Had this been a shooter, misinformation would have put people's lives at risk of injury or death. My personal reasons for sharing my account. My next point, have empathy for people like myself and many others who are struggling to grasp what had happened. I watched a few individuals make fun of the situation and making fun of those who had generally fearful and anxious of what was happening. It hurts a lot and is insensitive. While some individuals were making fun of the situation and those involved, I was instructing my friends who were hiding on how to barricade a door from an active shooter, and instructing them to grab something as a weapon in case it ultimately came down to it. Hopefully, the dichotomy of this example is painfully clear. Active shooter threats have been growing increasingly more common in the US. I will refrain from commenting regarding Canada as I am unfamiliar with incidents involving Canada. I want to reiterate, to those who may or may not have been trained to deal with an active shooter situation, run, hide, fight, in that specific order. I ran, some of my friends hid, we then all waited for some form of official confirmation when it was safe to return to any normalcy. Regardless if you believe it's an active shooter or not, take it seriously. Your actions in the moment can cost someone their life or your own life. I want to encourage those who are struggling to reach out to social workers to seek help. I am going to. I have been struggling to sleep since the event occurred, and I am completely failing to process what had even happened. I keep hearing that scream and then rerunning the event over and over again in my head. Today, when I was waiting in Pearson for my flight back home, I went to the bathroom stall and cried for hours. It was the first time I had been alone and allowed myself to express my emotions. I am hurting a lot. What I experienced does not feel real. Closing remarks. Lastly, to the 2 individuals from the FE security staff team I talked to Sunday night, I wanted to thank you personally thank both of you for not only listening to my account of what had happened, but the care you both showed me. You 2 took me aside personally to talk to me and see how I was emotionally doing, showing me care that I did not know I needed. I am deeply thankful. Thank you to my friends as well who have been reaching out to me. I know I have been passing it off like it's calm and not wanting to involve you. Truth is, I'm hurting and don't really know how to express it. Me writing this statement is a way for myself to express everything I feel and how conflicted I am. As hard as it is, I encourage those who went through this traumatic experience to share their stories with the Furnal Equinox team via official means when they are comfortable to try and help aid their investigation. Regarding this incident, please utilize first-hand knowledge of what happened. There are far too many rumors floating about. In summary, this is my account, from someone who was actually at the lobby during the time of the incident. Please respect that, and those like myself who are struggling to process what had happened. To those that continue to spread false information, you do nothing but harm those who actually experience the events. And I hope in reading this that you all change your ways. I am hurting, and many others might be. And that's all she wrote. So this is actually very interesting. This is actually opening up a new gateway as to how people in the crowd, the whole bystander effect, how they might be impacted by somebody suddenly yelling the word gun in a crowded area. My father, back in when he was a kid growing up in the 50s, he mentioned that as a kid he had nightmares of a nuclear war actually happening and what would happen to him, So real world anxieties can kind of manifest, because you hear it on the news every other day that a mass shooting has taken place here in the United States. And it's sort of taken on a new meaning for some people that internalize that, and it becomes a newfound fear that it's the unthinkable becomes suddenly much more realistic and happening before your very eyes, based on a few circumstances that could sort of play out, like somebody yelling gun in a crowded area. That's a good point. I never really considered how damaging false information can truly be, and the furry fandom, at its core, is kind of gossipy. I mean, that's a cornerstone of this channel, right? People love to engage in gossip, and everybody wants to tell a story, and sort of the reality of the situation can be completely departed from the actual facts. Like I said before, facts on this are kind of scant. As far as the reality of the situation goes, I would imagine that in the face of not only the security team at the hotel, as well as the Toronto police and any other security staff being involved with this, the people that are responsible probably don't want this to be public, They don't want to be found out, and they don't want to be culpable and considered responsible for this disturbance that took place. So whether or not they were actually found, or if this situation actually was resolved adequately, remains to be seen. But certainly the damage was felt by somebody irresponsibly yelling gun to a crowded area where people were still well in attendance of the convention itself. That's truly appalling. So in conclusion, what can I really say about this whole debacle as it unfolded? Honestly, I have to say, in spite of the fact that it was in poor taste, inappropriate, and uncalled for, I'm laughing my ass off. Okay, this shit was fucking hilarious. Now, obviously, I mentioned a few things that make this less hilarious than it probably should be, but as just a visceral reaction, I hate to say it, but I couldn't help but bust a gut laughing, okay? That such a bizarre incident would take place on the dance floor like this. Granted, it's from the comfort and privacy of my own home, or at work or wherever, I actually caught wind of this. But at the same time, you gotta admit, this was just a little bit over the top, and nothing that anybody here would have probably been expecting. Now, was it in poor taste and all that stuff? Abso-fucking-lutely, but at the same time, Pup Bello, I guess the repercussions that he actually received was negative publicity from all the furry fandom that suddenly knew his name, knew his face, definitely had intimate knowledge of his body. So he will be bearing the scarlet letter, as it were, proverbially speaking, for the near future, as it stands. But, hey, he definitely went for it, He went just busted a move on the dance floor, really tore that shit up, really showed some people some smooth moves, and he got to express himself the only way that he knew how, through dancing. And in doing so, he got his rocks off for the night. Granted, I am very curious to know how long this negative stigma will be following him in the near future, Because, given the fact that people know his face, they know his body, and various other things, and if he still uses his identity, in spite of the fact that he's since deleted his Twitter profile and Twitter account off of Twitter, that shit follows you for a while, right? So, some people are definitely going to pat him on the back and hail him as a hero. Other people are going to condemn him to the fullest degree, and he's going to be considered a pariah in some circles. But hey, at least he went for it, You gotta appreciate the value of art that he brought to the table. Granted, for the various other con attendees, did they ask to see this? Did they ask for this dude to get butt-ass naked like a jaybird, tearing up the dance floor like that, swinging his junk around so his franken beans are, visible for all to see? Probably not. I'm sure plenty of people got more than they bargained for. But hey, like, nobody got hurt at the end of the day, so we can all rejoice and be thankful for that, right? Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Till next time, guys, take care and peace. I hope you all have a better one. Hey fellas, thanks for watching the video today. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Or did you hit that like button, subscribe for more? You know, I really appreciate that, right? And hey, if you want to support me in a more personal way, my coffee is always open. As always, if you're in the mood for gaming, why don't you check me out on Twitch sometime, link in the description below. Anyway, till next time guys, take care and peace. I hope you all have a better one. We